All right, folks, you may have heard of SDR Control for Icom, a new application for your iOS and Mac. This is a pretty smooth looking application, and I've been messing around with it for the past couple of days, and I'm really liking it. I can sit on my couch, go to the kitchen, go to the bathroom, go to work, go anywhere, and be able to remote into my radio to my 705. Also has integrated logbook and FT8 and more, and we're going to get into a few of that and do an overview of the application, and then I'm going to share with you some of the problems that I've had and some of the things I see I hope gets added or changed. So let's get to it. All right, so right over here you see the website for SDR Control, and this is made by Marcus. Marcus has made several applications. You may recognize some of his work from Flex, maybe why it resembles some of that, and he has started to make other applications. And the newest one here that's been released lately is SDR Control for iOS. This is for your iPad. It's only available for iPad. If you search it on your iPhone, you will not find it in your app store, so keep that in mind. This application is great. It is the best looking remote control software or application that I've seen for Icom radios so far. The waterfall, the meters, everything is almost in real time. I mean, very little latency on here. And you will see SDR Control is a full-featured iPad app to operate your Icom transceiver at home or from around the world without any additional hardware or software. It works with your Icom 705, 7610, and 9700. That's currently the only three models that are supported because that's the only three models that has built-in networking. It uses Wi-Fi or LAN area network, which is like the 7610, 9700 has the Ethernet plug in the back. No USB is required or supported. So 7300 users like myself, you're out of luck. I wouldn't mind personally a dumbed down or application for the 7300 over USB that didn't have so many options as the others. I'd be okay with a little bit of remote control. Just let me transmit. FT8. A lot of you like the FT8, and it is integrated into this app. I have been using it some, and it is pretty neat to just click on FT8 and start working FT8 contacts. It has auto mode, auto CQ, auto logging, filters, and displays on a map, and I'll show you here in a little bit. Integrated logbook. You can do an ADIF import and export with it. It has UDP log functions. I have it currently set up to where when I make contacts or enter a new entry into the log integrated into the app, it automatically sends that information to my log4 OM. And also I have it set up to where it sends that information to the FT8 off scoreboard. If you haven't heard of FT8 off, look in the description. I'll give you a link to the FT8 setup website. Real fun thing every Thursday night that a lot of us do. It is using your local Wi-Fi or over the internet with cellular. I will say that your cellular connection will need to be a little speedy. LTE speeds and below is not going to work in my experience. And there is some frequently asked questions and answers at the website and a video and review for you to look at, and also a link to the manual. I would suggest looking at the manual. I know we hate to do that, but it'll answer some of your questions and help you set stuff up. Let's go right over to the screen on the application.
All propagation there most time there.
All right, so here you hear a couple of the locals that are chatting on simplex right now on 2 meters. The screen is just beautiful. Pay attention to the screen and the 705 here. And it's real interesting to see other people's signals on the scopes, because you notice when that guy keys up, you've seen a little drift. So it drifts up a little bit. The next guy that talks is actually drifted a little to the left of the center. Here you got a couple of transmit buttons. I like that they put the transmit button over to the left-hand side of the screen, so that's kind of where your thumb would be. It's a little easier to get to. Your mic, you got to make sure the mic is highlighted. When it turns blue, it means it is active. We can change to different modes. noise reduction, your preamps, and we can go to different VFOs. There's 20, and you see it shows the spots from the DX cluster. We'll go back to 2 meters. We can select FM. You'll see in this box here, you get to it by going to View and Memory Panel, and that brings up my memory box, and I can hit the plus or minus to change to my different memories. And this is my repeater in town, and we can hit the transmit button. K5YVY. I did not have the mic hooked up. K5YVY. All right, so you noticed when I first talked, nothing was showing on the scope as output, and that's because I forgot to check that the mic square was blue. Blue means active sound through your mic. Now, if you long press some of these buttons, you can long press and options will pull up, and you can choose your different mics there if you wish. Now, this is your waterfall and the information, your VFO, all that information for your radio. You can, down here at the bottom, go to Tools, and this is where some of the fun stuff comes in. Now, it does have a band plan. This band plan is not quite accurate for some of us US folks. As you will see, for an example, down here on 2 meter, it shows 144 through 146. It should show through 148. As of right now, it doesn't appear that you can change that. You can click on these and it has a little arrow, but it's not doing anything. So maybe they'll add the option to be able to manually change the band plans or add US band plans to it. Let's see. Let's go to settings, and it shows show band limits on waterfall and show mode limits on waterfall. So what that means is if we go back, let's go to HF and change our mode. You can see the colored bar. Let's zoom out. You can see the red bar is for the voice, and then you see the different colored bars there that show you the different band plans. Go back to Tools, and next you got CW macros. Here you can enter in some macros for your CW. Right now I just have my call sign plugged in there, just playing around with it. DX cluster. Go to DX cluster. You need to fill in your settings a little bit. Check those. You can have it to auto start or not. When you start the app, you got different filters. And then you'll need to hit start, and it will load a current DX cluster information. And we have some 20 meters here at the very bottom. We can double click on that, and it takes us to that frequency. Let me turn this down just a tad for you. 21-11, and there we are. Some of these stations are not in my hop zone, I guess. I'm not hearing them. But I'm also on a 2 meter antenna, so that doesn't help. So that's really neat and handy if you want to look at that. Now you'll notice up there at the top right, you see map. I like the map. So on the map, it's showing currently one DX cluster spot. And go to the list, it's going to be one of the Canadian stations. Obviously, there's several on the list, but for some reason they're not populating on the map. We'll stop that and go back, and we'll go to PSK Reporter. I have my call sign here, and this is some spots where other stations spotted me. Can hit start, see if there's any that's more current. I don't think there will be. And this is where the map becomes neat, because you click on map, and then here's all the stations that heard me. Pretty neat to see all that. All right, we'll go back to Tools. You got a MIDI controller. You can Bluetooth that to your iPad to have physical control, have some physical buttons and stuff. We do not have one of those, so I cannot go over that. Logbook. Go to list, and here is some contacts that I made on FT8 and some on voice. 5.9 both ways. 7245. Got a 5.8 I sent and received a 5.6. So not too bad. And you can also map those, which not all of them are populating once again. I don't know. This could be because the other station doesn't have their grid square plugged in, or maybe I'm missing some information, but I've got my grid square in there. That's why you can see the blue dot with the H that indicates home. That will be my location. You can go to settings and you can plug in your call sign and adjust some more settings. You got a contest mode. You can manually hit the plus sign and manually enter in information for logging. You got a little folder there where you can export your ADF file to your iCloud or to email. And you can also import an ADF file if you send it to your iCloud drive. You can also filter your results for your logbook if you're looking for something a little more particular, certain bands, so on. Go back to tools. You got a network status, which shows you your latency and information. And FT8, this will be the popular one. You can click on the frequencies here and you have your predefined FT8 frequencies for the bands from 13 centimeters all the way to 160 meters, or you can manually select one. You will have to make a selection. We'll do 2 meters. That's where we're at or hooked up to. You hit receive, and sometimes the software crashes, and I've only had this happen using the FT8 app. So we'll open SDR back up, and now the 705 still has the wireless LAN connection icon on. So until the 705 realizes, oh, I lost the connection to that program, I'm not going to be able to reconnect. As you see, it says your radio is not responding. The icon has now gone off, and now I can hit connect and it comes back up. So I don't know if that's a flaw for this older iPad that I'm using, or if it's happens on newer iPads or not. If you have been using this and you've run into this problem, leave me a comment below and let me know, so I know whether it's my old stuff or it's happening on the new stuff too. So I have noticed it takes me a couple times, maybe 3 times, to reconnect without getting an error. And here we are back on 2 meters. We'll go back to FT8. We'll go back to select our 2 meter frequency for FT8, and you hit the RX at the top left to start FT8. You can go back to waterfall and you can see that I am on the FT8 frequency. So we can go back to FT8, click on CQ, make that button blue, it's active, and it also activates your transmit button over on the left. And I'm on even, so when the next even cycle comes around, it will start transmitting. Now it is transmitting, and we can go to the waterfall and we can see some information there. When you're transmitting, the top of the screen will be red. I think it cut off a little too soon there. But while you're transmitting, you need to go to 705 down at the bottom to bring up your 705 settings and look at LAN input gain. Here you want to be in front of your radio so that you can look at your meter and you can look at the ALC. It says watch ALC level meter and adjust until the ALC level decreases. That way you can make sure you're not overdriving your signal. We'll go back to the FT8 screen. You can see that's where I've called CQ. There it populated again. Go to waterfall and you can see it transmitting. The bar across the top is red. When it stops transmitting, the transmit buttons and the bar across the top goes out and you start to receive. We'll go back to FT8 and we will hit the transmit button to turn it gray, and that means it's deactivated. It will not transmit again. That is pretty handy. I'll show you a video of me making some FT8 contacts right now. All right, so you've seen some videos of me making some contacts with the app earlier while I was sitting on my sofa in the house. And back to the app now. If you go to the bottom right, you'll see settings. You tap on that. It has right there at the top, it has a button to say show manual. So you can easily get to the manual anytime you want to look at something. You got any questions about how to set something up, You can go to available radios. If you got more than one, it'll bring up the list. I have the internal IP for here at the house, my network, for when I'm at home on my Wi-Fi. I connect that way. But when I'm away from the house on cellular or somebody else's Wi-Fi at work or a hotel or something like that, I use the public IP to remote in to the radio. So keep that in mind. You can select ask before disconnect and power off disconnect. I like to know my radio is in standby mode. You will need to go to the 705 and under, I think it's your wireless LAN settings, you will need to enable the option of remote standby or something like that. That way you can put the radio in standby or sleep mode, and then when you open the app and connect to it again, it will wake the radio up and you can continue to play along. So here you can put your IRU region. We're going to click on the USA. We need to do that. That may have changed my band plan. We'll go back and check that in a minute. I've got my call sign, my grid square, and HemQTH. Got my login for FT8 off and log4OM activated. You got all these different options and information at the bottom. You can change the size of the fonts and spot locations if you have a little trouble seeing it. So there's options on there. So let's go back to band plan since I've done that. And that did not change the band plan by me selecting USA. So maybe they'll get that fixed. Also, you have QRZ lookup where you can type in a call sign, hit enter, and then there's some general results on the call sign. But I can click on view QRZ.com and it will bring up a browser window so that I can browse the QRZ page. Pretty handy. So there's your options. So far, looks like there's plenty of space to add a few more, and I hope they do. This is just a really good, slick looking platform here, and I think it's pretty handy. So we can go up here to view and we can do a tuning, select your different frequencies, and you can change your step size. You click on view again. You got your CW panel where you can adjust your side tone and your CW speed. You can type in my call sign. I can change this to CW a little bit. As I scroll, you can see how quickly the radio responds. I mean, if you can't call that real time, I don't know what you can call it. And there you go. I just sent K5YVY in Morse. Now I didn't have the break-in on, so it didn't transmit. Go to view and you got your memory panel. This is where I have 2 meter information programmed into my radio, and I can just hit the plus and minus sign to go through my frequencies. And you can drag this out of your way if there's something you want to see. You can close it, you can zoom in, or you can zoom out and see a large portion of the band. And there we are, we're zoomed all the way out. We can turn the squelch on. You got your macros, which I don't have any in voice, but if I go to CW, it automatically changes to CW, and then there's my K5YVY macro. I also want to show that you can have multiple windows open, and you can arrange them ever how you need to on the screen. Pretty neat. And if you want to keep your log up while you're talking, making voice contacts, this is handy because then you can type in the call sign as they're giving you the information. The second here, if you're working a parts on the air, this is your comment block, and you can type in the part number, and that will put it into the comment section of your log. So that's pretty handy. And if you press and hold the disconnect button, you can hit shutdown, or you can select a device to swap to or control. If you have more than one radio, like the 7610 or 9700 or 705, you could have all three of them where you could just switch between them in the app very easily. That's an overview of the SDR Control application for the iPad. As you've seen, I've had some crashes when I go to do FT8. When I hit the receive button, sometimes when I hit the transmit button, it just closes the program out. I'm not sure if it's because I'm using an older iPad. So once again, if you have this experience, please leave a comment so that we and anybody else knows about it, and maybe the developers can see it and make adjustments or something. Because one thing that I don't like is it doesn't have an option to send a crash report when it does it to the developer. And I think that would be handy to have. Also, I would like to see being able to adjust the band plan or some more band plans added to where it reflects USA band plans, but not a big deal. I have made contacts on sideband voice. I've made FM contacts, FT8 contacts, all by sitting on my sofa, and I've really enjoyed it. So if you're interested in controlling your Icom 9700, 7610, or 705 by an iPad or a Mac computer, this is some pretty good software, and it's very good looking. I will say that the iPad app does cost $48 and some change after tax for me. Maybe a little different if your tax rate is different, but it is going to cost you just under $50, around $50 in the USA. The application for the Mac computer is $99.99 plus taxes, so keep that in mind, but I think it may have some extra features. I don't have a Mac, so I can't really go over that. But this is a really cool program, and I think you should give it a shot, and I look forward to more updates and maybe a little more stability. But the stability, like I said, may be my equipment. I don't know. So anyway, appreciate you hanging out. 73.